CAR 3 is a discussion item. It's a recommendation concerning request for application 22-205 for tax credit applications through Florida Housing Finance Corporation. These items are approve or reject. I would like to advise the board that on item B, the Corry Family Housing application, I've been advised that they entered the pre-app process, and this particular area is in a flood zone. It flooded significantly in 2014, and it has some wellheads on the property. So my advice would be to reject this particular development, but I would leave that to the board.
Who's the speaker? Dave Hemphill.
Dave Hemphill, KG Development Services. We're the engineers for the project. About 2.5 years ago, we prepared an application. There was a portion of this site that was designated as wetlands. That portion of the site was cut out, and almost 8.3 acres was submitted. The maps at that time were 2006 for flood, FEMA flood panels. What was just referenced was the 2017 maps, which have not been approved but are still a good guide. We can do the exact same thing with this project to cut out about 2 acres, put it in a conservation. It will not be built upon. The finished floors will be elevated to 13. There's enough land there, and the elevation works, and it could be built upon. So I think there's some misinformation on the project.
Is this time sensitive? And let me fully disclose that I serve on the board of Area Housing Commission, but there's in no way that I would in there benefit by voting or discussing it, but I do serve on that board. So I guess the question, Claire, is this time sensitive?
I've been told it is.
Okay, well, I'll take your word, Dave. I'm just going to ask staff. Well, Claire, no, I want you to tell me. I mean, so if it's a lie, I can come back to you.
Yes, sir, it is. The application is due December the 28th.
So we got to make a decision. Okay,
Yes,
that's
it is.
fair. Thank you.
If you want to talk yet,
Mr. Chairman, can I talk about both these projects? Because actually, the first one, Magnolia Trail, I've spent extensive amount of time with the people in Myrtle Grove and Sherwood. I went to a public meeting over on Vista. The folks in the neighborhood were not in support of that. Originally, they are. It's going to be a 55-plus senior community. At the end of the day, it's close to Wesco. I definitely support the Magnolia Trail. I think it's a good long-term plan for 55 overs, and I think there's some benefit there. I'm for affordable housing, but this morning after the meeting, the affordable housing people came up and asked me about this. I got this today. I sat down with Clara yesterday. I have some issues with it like Wes does. I called Horace. It is in a flood zone. The community outreach was not there. I called the Warrington Revitalization. A lot of the people live in Era Vista, and Edgewater did not know about this, as well as by Davenport. So the community around the area is not familiar with this. I know they went to the Lexington Terrace Old Navy Housing, but there's not enough engagement with the community on this project for me to support it outside of the environmental concerns and the flooding.
Well, let me say, I mean, it's your district, but you get people run down here every 5 minutes about affordable housing and attainable housing. Nobody wants it in their neighborhood. It's like, you know, everybody wants you to support tiny homes and habitat, but no one wants it in their neighborhood. I mean, no one will ever want it in their neighborhood. It's just not what they want. They don't want low income. They want poor people to be as far away from them as they can. If it's a flooding issue, then that's another issue. I mean, I do trust an engineer or what he says. I know that because I serve on area housing, you have 1,000 plus, almost 1,400 people on a wait list. And I don't know how we begin to solve it if you never, ever bring about low-income attainable housing. I mean, we're gonna be stressed at this problem. So I respect what you're saying, and you're on the board. But we do have an affordable and attainable housing problem in Escambia County. We just had people come here at the AHAC committee. Everybody wants to help it, but nobody wants it in their neighborhood. And so when I look at that area on Old Corry, I look at Marina Court, I look at Lexington Terrace, I look at all that, that area is certainly suitable for mixed use, and I'm not for all low-income housing, you know, and I get that. I mean, but Robert bragged today on College Trace of a low-income housing project that was placed in his district that has proven to be beneficial for the citizens. And so I don't know, you know, what the outreach was. I mean, sad to say, I see Abe sitting here, Shirley. I don't know if they did the outreach or did they not do the outreach, and if they didn't, maybe they should. But you can have 101 town hall meetings, and you'll have 102 meetings that come out saying, we don't want this in our neighborhood. But I respect where you're going. It's your district. I'm not one of those that, you know, kind of step into other people's district. But I just certainly want to make my position clear. Commissioner Bender, you had something? All right, so that being said, I mean, if it's in a flood zone, I mean, you're not going to build anything with just a flood zone. I mean, we build in flood zones every day. I mean, Community Maritime Park down there where we spent hundreds of $millions is in a flood zone. It's how do you set the elevations to keep it from not flooding? I mean, so that can be, I mean, you can mitigate that. I mean, you can't tell me it's in a flood zone. I mean, Pensacola Beach is on a barrier island, and we put millions of dollars, and God told you not to build on a barrier island, but you still do it and put millions of dollars. So when you say you're not going to build because it's in a flood zone, well, don't put any more money on Pensacola Beach. Don't put any more money on Perdido Key because they're barrier islands. So that makes no sense to me that you're saying it's a flood zone, so we're not going to build there, but we put millions of dollars in Perdido and millions of dollars on Pensacola Beach. But when it's affordable housing for poor people, we say, oh my God, it's a flood zone. That's just unfair because poor people don't have the ability to advocate to come down and say, you know what, we're going to put a $100 million hotel on Pensacola Beach, and it's on a barrier island, not even a flood zone. That's not equity or parity to me. But again, your district, you know what, I'm going to tell you my position. I'm not going to vote. I'm going to vote for it. But, you know, I'll pass the gavel, make the motion, we get a second, we do. But I'm saying from my position, it makes no sense. We're hypocritical as a board when we put money into Perdido Key, Pensacola Beach, but when it's time to build housing for poor people, particularly people of black and brown color that have nowhere to live, we say, we find an excuse that it's a flood zone. You tell them, you require them to elevate it, put it on pilings, to put filtration, and you say, we're gonna make sure it doesn't flood. But to absolutely say no because it's in a flood zone, to me, it's not right. So.
I appreciate that, Mr. Chairman. I'm not against affordable housing, and that was just one of the things. I didn't share a couple other. I live about a little over a mile from there. The area, I drove by it actually at 2:30 today just to make sure. There's a service road next to the storage station. They want to put 75 units in there. And then, of course, the post office on the other side. There's just things that I think that need to be asked with the traffic patterns, with the school. I don't think the communications were there in advance. I want to be there for you for an affordable housing. But you're making my job harder with the community by not doing.
No, I'm not. No, listen, I'm not making your job hard at all. I mean,
Yeah.
we can make them. They're going to close Warrington anyway. They're making it a charter school, so we're not going to even have any concurrency there with problem with traffic. I mean, you're not going to have a traffic problem there. I mean, when you talk about concurrency and traffic on Old Corry, you close down Lexington Terrace, you have less residents there than you've ever had in the history of that road. There's less stress on the traffic there. So the concurrency and the traffic, quite frankly, is not an issue. I mean, in engineering, and if we're going to hold them accountable when they submit it, then that's when engineering and traffic gets involved, and we do that count, and then we take that into consideration before you bring it to this board and deny somebody the opportunity of trying to do affordable housing if we're really committed to affordable housing. So I'm not trying to make your job hard at all. I'm strictly stating my opinion, and it's your district. You know, it's all of our opinion. You know, I think it's, you know, we'll never have affordable housing, but we're not going to be hypocritical. What I'm not going to do, I'm not going to sit here and vote for things on barrier islands to build and put resources, and at the same time on the inland, just because you say, you know, it rains and it's a 100-year or 500-year flood, we're not going to build affordable housing. You know, that's what I'm not going to support. I mean, so I'll be a team player, but I'm not going to support that. So is there a motion on the floor? Because I got to go.
Can we split this?
Yeah.
To who votes? So I'd like to make a motion first to vote for Magnolia Trail.
Second. We have a motion and a second for Magnolia Trail.
So
So all you gotta do is, we have a motion for A, to approve A or reject it. So let's just do that. The chair will entertain a motion to approve or reject Magnolia
So
Trail.
would it be A and C with Magnolia Trail on part C? Is that, I guess that would be, is that what you?
Yeah. We could take A and C. Could we take A and C?
Who needs to say that's his motion?
Mr. Chairman, give me just a second. I'm going to reset that vote since we already, okay.
Well, I mean, I was just clarifying it. It's,
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, we can entertain that motion.
So the motion is A, and then the Magnolia Trail portion of C, that's the motion?
Yes, sir.
yes. Would that be your motion?
Yep,
That's my motion, thank you.
Please vote. Passes 5 in favor. Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion to approve or reject the Corry Field Family Housing application.
So, Mr. Chairman, on this, I would want to talk about the flooding concerns, though. I mean, I think that is valid. I mean,
I'm not denying it. I'm saying that you could build and mitigate it is what I'm saying.
and that's what I would want to discuss, is that is taken in.
And I would have rather have pulled it, Robert, and say, let's have that discussion, but obviously it's time sensitive and they got to get it in.
Isn't this through a lottery system as well?
Yeah, largely. I mean, the possibility of getting it
It's a point
is
system,
slim to none.
So,
Yeah, they got less than a 10% chance of getting it, so,
And
I mean, yeah.
I'd be fine addressing that if the project moves, I mean, if the project moves forward, it's going to get addressed in that instance.
If they get it, you don't have to give them a permit. But, yeah, okay, we're just, someone make a motion. I'm fine.
Commissioner Bender, for what it's worth, I'd move item B, and then the Corry Family Housing portion of item C.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. That passes 5 in favor. Thank you so much.